What is going on? It's Alex coming back at you with another video, and today we're going to be breaking down Pro Football Focus's way too early 2025 NFL mock draft. I want to get you guys a video out. I was trying my best before Mother's Day weekend to get you a wide receiver rankings video. It is almost ready, so it will be out at the end of this weekend. So yes, we're going to be reviewing the top wide receivers in the 2025 NFL draft. Already got the interior defensive linemen as well as all the quarterbacks graded, essentially, all the ones that are primarily the ones that you'll think of, 25 of them, in fact. So feel free to go check those videos out. Let's get right into this because let's just have some fun. I was let down a little bit. I was all excited to be able to show you guys the wide receiver rankings, but simply put, I'm not in the mood to be driving at 2 in the morning to be able to go see my parents. So doing this because I love you guys, want to give you guys some fun content, and then happy Mother's Day to all those beautiful mothers out there. Let's get right into this though, starting out with the #1 overall pick. This is a little bit old, but I mean, nothing's changed in the past 2 weeks. So we didn't get to review this. Literally the players are the same, the order is the same, projected order is the same. So we're still going to have a great time. Panthers take James Pierce to start out. James Pierce, I'm excited to watch the edge rushers. I think I'm going to do corners next and then edge rushers. I know that I got some people wanting me to do the running back class, and, you know, I usually save that for last. You know, just not a position. Watching safeties I want to save for last. I absolutely hate watching safeties for the most part. Even though, you know, some guys get my gears going, and I do think there's some good ones in this class I'm very excited to see, but usually it's a position I enjoy the least because you don't actually get to see him do much on every single play. But regardless, edge rusher is going to be coming up soon as well. I might honestly start watching it this weekend if, you know, my parents and I are just having some downtime. We're going to be drilling into the all-22 tape. But James Pierce is a fantastic player. Popped off to me last year when I was a big Tyler Barron guy. Still am, but Tyler Barron keeps switching schools. So God only knows where he's going to end up when all is said and done. But the New England Patriots go Will Campbell. You know, he, to me, is an offensive guard. I don't think he's a bad player by any stretch, but at the same time, he is, you know, someone who's very underwhelming to me as just a pure offensive tackle, has legitimate length issues at 33-inch arms, and, you know, he plays phenomenally well versus, like, interior defensive lineman style players. So I think that would be the far better outcome, and I just don't think the Patriots need to go that route. The Denver Broncos then go Mason Graham. Mason Graham, I ended up comping him to Jerzon Newton with no aura. And that ruffled the feathers of some Michigan fans, and I understand because it sounds like I'm shitting on Mason Graham, but at the same time, he is my #1 interior defensive lineman. Feel free to go check out that video again. And, you know, he has excellent block shedding. I just think this defensive interior class has an Achilles heel, and that is the fact that they cannot hold their ground. Maybe vertically, like, you know, north-south, maybe they can hold their ground, but these guys move laterally like they're pretty much on ice skates, and, you know, it's unfortunate, but you have to hold your ground because the NFL offensive linemen only get stronger and more athletic. That's why I'm a little bit lower in the class, but if Denver's at 3, defense interior is not the way to get your best bang for your buck unless it's a brand new regime and they just want to go the safe route. The best route would be to go Will Johnson, which the Titans do at pick 4. That'd be a ridiculous corner core that they would have in that instance. You know, L'Jarius Sneed, Will Johnson would be one hell of a top duo. So Tennessee Titans not doing a bad job there. Glad to see him not going after an offensive tackle in this situation because even though it's semi-logical, this is not a very good tackle class. You take advantage of what is actually the best player available, and this corner class looks to be loaded. I'm praying to God I don't get let down. And y'all know how much I love corners. Every year, y'all know I fall in love with one dude, whether it's Terry and Arnold, whether it's JPJ, whether it's, I mean, I guess Sauce was eventually considered the top guy, but to me, he was still a top 10 player at the way too early stage. So, luckily, I have a pretty good track record of the guys who I love. Not maybe overall. Well, actually, I feel corner is one of the positions I hit the most on. So, I really do love corners. Granted, corner is such a turnstile position that, you know, we don't really get to have true lockdown corners apart from the elite of the elite, which is maybe why the guys who I love end up working out and why we don't exactly know as much about the guys who are more depth. But Will Johnson so far has been phenomenal. I've watched the majority of the receiving class. If they have a game against Will Johnson, I watch that game to see how they perform apples to apples. Giants then go Carson Beck. I feel like that's the instant shoe-in pick for the Giants at 5. You know, he's a good quarterback. I think that he is pretty much a better version of Kenny Pickett. Again, feel free to watch the quarterback video for a little bit more in-depth analysis, but that's a fringe starting quarterback in the NFL. I don't know if he's a top 32 quarterback on planet Earth. That's what you have to think about when you're talking about a true starter. But I do think he could be a really good system fit for New York, and I think that he could end up being an upgrade. So, not a bad pick. Commanders go Kelvin Banks, going after a left tackle. I think that's the one position. It's why I was actually rubbed the wrong way by their draft, is because I think they left a lot on the table by not going after offensive line. I don't think they did it early enough. Don't think they did it often enough. The Texans actually ended up drafting a lot of the offensive linemen I thought they should have. So it's very unfortunate there, but Kelvin Banks would be a solid addition. It just would be a kick in the balls because I had higher graded offensive tackles available for them in round 2 than him here at pick 6. Deone Walker goes to the Cardinals. My big issue with Deone is a 6'6" and stands completely upright. This dude ends up being on his ass because he doesn't have a low center of gravity, and he's very susceptible to falling over. So big issue there, but the quick pass rush wins are phenomenal for his size. I'm hoping that eventually he's able to fix up the little intricacies of his game. Then we got Ben Morrison going to the Vikings. He's a nasty corner. Again, I'm going to dig into the corner class soon enough, but Ben Morrison, obviously, he's been at the top of my board for a hot second now. Very, very happy with what I have seen of him. We'll see. Again, when you watch someone's every step, it's a lot different than when you see him out of the corner of your eye. Or if you're watching a receiver in front of him, it's just very difficult to watch the player's thought process when you're watching somebody else's. So that's why all 22 tape matters so much. You get to watch them the whole time. You get to see how they react. And, over time, as you get more comfortable, a lot of people ask me about how do I get comfortable? How do I trust my own scouting? In time, you'll start getting a really solid gut feeling. And if your gut feeling's off, learn why it's off, and then learn when your gut feeling feels a certain way. If it's the same thing over and over again that's wrong, then now you can almost have checks and balances on yourself. So a little nugget of knowledge there. Ben Morrison's a fun one. Shedeur Sanders is just a quarterback I would never take. His talent is phenomenal. I mean, talent-wise, he probably would have been the second best quarterback in the class for me because I'm a big Dylan Gabriel guy. He's right there with Jalen Daniels in terms of pure talent, but the amount of baggage that comes with him, I just don't want to deal with the drama. I'm a Steelers fan. I dealt with Antonio Brown. I dealt with Le'Veon Bell. There's just a ton of shit I've dealt with. So I am a little bit more risk averse when it comes to quarterbacks with a massive ego as well as, the baggage of Daddy Sanders. So that's just my take on it. Again, I'm, obviously not the end all be all when it comes to, the quarterback evaluation, especially when it comes to it's pretty much down to the owner of the team, whether they feel comfortable bringing in a personality like that. At pick 10, the Seahawks go Nick Scouton. Again, I haven't done the edge class yet, but this dude is a stat machine. He popped off all the time there at Purdue. Purdue had some really good players, and they lost their 2 best in Scouton as well as Burks, but maybe we'll see if he pops up on this mock draft. I highly doubt it, but I would love to see it nonetheless. Luther Burden goes to the Saints. I mean, he is somebody who graded pretty much above average in every category. But my one big issue with Luther Burden is this dude has a terrible motor. I have him comped to Deontay Johnson with LSU Terrace Marshall's mentality. If you guys didn't watch Terrace Marshall at LSU, he would only run really hard on the routes that he was the primary read, or on certain routes where he would just essentially have to get upfield. And Luther Burden is, someone who I saw 10 out of probably the 20 reps that he played. 10 out of every 20 reps, he's running maybe less than half speed. And it's not like he wasn't one of the reads. There were targeted plays, and I have it on my Twitter so you guys can check it out. It's all 22. So it's free. You can go check it out and enjoy it. Where it shows Luther Burden pretty much running a post, and this dude's running a half-assed route, slow, and, obviously he can do way better than that, and it gets picked off because, simply put, he doesn't put any effort into it. So he's going to be one of my few players who's much lower on my board than everyone else's, and it's because of that. To me, I'm someone who I do not want a player on my team who shows a lack of effort. So we'll leave it there. Buccaneers go Travis Hunter, weapon out of Colorado. For right now, he's at number 3. I did not grade him as a wide receiver. I think I'm going to grade Travis Hunter in totality as both a corner and a wide receiver at once. I'd prefer to be able to understand his fluidity rather than, separate it into two different things. And since I'm doing corner and wide receiver pretty much next to each other, it's, probably the wise thing to do. I do think he's going to be better on the corner side, and I've heard that from a lot of people. And from me watching Shedeur Sanders, I feel like that's going to be the case for me as well. Malachi Starks goes to the Colts. With all the safeties he drafted, this just feels a little bit of a reach to me. Steelers then go Tetra McMillan. Just wait for this weekend. This is someone who I was a massive fan of via osmosis, but you can tell the talent difference between him and Jacob Cowing, who went in like the 4th or the 5th. Cowing is far superior, and again, he's essentially like 50 pounds lighter, sure. But you can just see a stark difference in terms of separation ability, route running, simply just being explosive. And Tet doesn't do that. I'm praying that, he improves significantly, but another guy who runs some half-assed routes for sure, but you'll never see him with separation. He just doesn't run routes well enough. I mean, we're talking about Keon Coleman not getting separation. That's going to be coming in pretty hot. Rams go Kevin Winston, safety out of Penn State. Obviously, I adore Penn State defensive backs. I have not watched Kevin Winston yet, so I'm very excited for that. But the Rams, Cam Curl's on a... Oh, I thought he was on a 1-year contract. He's on 2. But Cam Kitchens, Kevin Winston, Cam Curl, that'd be a pretty nasty safety trio. Because I've seen him again via osmosis, but I'm not going to claim that I've watched him in all 22. Y'all know the positions I've watched so far. Decario Davis goes to the Jaguars. I thought it was one of the positions they really lacked in acquiring in the draft, the Jaguars. I think corner was what they really needed to go for, and now they get it here. Decario is an absolute freak show. The Browns then go Harold Perkins. You might as well take the talent. This dude's he's lights out. I have him listed as a linebacker, hoping that he gets up in weight, but he is going to be moving to a linebacker. We'll see what happens. They ended up being able to hit a home run on JOK last time they took an undersized linebacker. The Chargers then go Colston Loveland. Obviously, love seeing him go to Jim Harbaugh. Tight end is a position I do think the Chargers could be in the market for. I just don't really see... I mean, I haven't watched Colston Loveland in all 22 yet, like specifically for him. I've watched plenty of other Michigan players, and I do really like Colston Loveland. That's why he is a number 12 player on my board. But I don't know if for the Chargers, I'd be going that route with, maybe some other talented pieces on the board, in particular, Michael Williams, someone who's going to be a little bit flexible in the defensive line category. The Bears then go Jack Sawyer. I'm not a huge fan of this one. Jack Sawyer has very poor football IQ for me. He just doesn't know where the ball is, but he's a really good run defender, very similar to the defensive line class. If you're running at him, then you're probably not going to get around him. But if he does not know where the ball is, how can he make a play on it? So that's been the big issue for me. Texans go Kenneth Grant. This dude is a pass rushing machine somehow at 340 pounds. But another guy who gets moved way too easily for his size. I'm really hoping that changes, but Texans getting Kenneth Grant makes a lot of sense. Emeka Egbuka goes to the Jets. I think that's a solid pick, but I just think it's a bit early. I'm not a big Emeka Egbuka guy. After restudying him, I thought he took a massive drop off this past year, but obviously without Marvin Harrison Jr. there, we'll see if he bounces back. The Atlanta Falcons go Abdul Carter, edge/linebacker out of Penn State. The Falcons are essentially having to settle for edge rusher rather than getting the best of the class at 22 because of the fact that they didn't end up addressing it in this past draft. Now, I do like Michael Penix, and I think the Penix pick is fine if you did not just sign Kirk Cousins, or if you sign Kirk Cousins to a different deal. It just doesn't make any sense. Like, I think Penix will do fine, but you just paid another quarterback a shit ton of money. So one of the two moves is an awful idea. I think Kirk was the right move, and I think you could have gotten a Super Bowl competitor if you ended up doing a little bit better in the draft. But regardless, now you're going after Abdul Carter, who will only have 1 year of experience as an edge rusher. Dolphins then go Howard Cross. He's sub 285. He's 284. It's a big risk right there. Miami going after undersized defensive interior. I feel like that's a little bit of a reach. Then we got the Packers going Jabbar Muhammad. Pretty sure he'll end up being a slot when all is said and done there for Oregon, transfer from Washington. That dude's a baller, though. He's a really good corner. Very excited to study him. So we'll see what happens then. Cowboys then go Quinn Ewers. I don't think he's a first-round quarterback. I don't know if he makes it through the season. That's a hot take, but I just think that, Quinn very well might not come out in this draft, might have to transfer to another school and end up proving himself. His deep ball inaccuracy and inefficiency is absolutely atrocious. I've seen him hit one deep ball and it was a beauty. But I mean, a broken clock is right twice a day. So, Quinn Ewers, just one of the guys who I cannot trust, especially in the first round. But, he has a lot of positive traits. I just would not take him in the first. Evan Stewart then goes to the Eagles, another player who I thought was very underwhelming. His play speed is much slower than I expected, but he's pretty much a slant merchant. And, for Oregon, that's perfectly fine. It's just going to be a little bit small there with him and Tez Johnson, but I think Tez Johnson is better. Spoiler alert for the video. Then we got Cincinnati Bengals going Ollie Gordon. It's a prime team to go after the first running back. Ollie had some fantastic games there last year. Buffalo Bills end up going Denzel Burke, one of my favorite players in the class. And the Bills get pretty much best player available. Good on them. Defensive backs always in need. Detroit Lions go JT Tuimoloau. At that value, that's incredible. 270-pound edge rusher. Just pretty much what you would be getting if they ended up going for an edge rusher in the first round last year. But they did the definite right move by going Terry and Arnold. But essentially, we were talking about Darius Robinson or else Marshawn Nealand, and this is essentially the same exact thing 1 year later. Ravens then go Trey Harris. Trey Harris is a fun one, but, he's super underdeveloped. I don't really think he's going to be much more than Tez Walker on this team with better hands. He might be a little bit bigger physicality-wise, but Trey Harris he's a good player. It's just at 30, I think it's a little bit rich. Niners then go Jonah Savaiinaea at 31. Super developmental guy, but the high-end reps are there. The consistency is not. Very excited to see if Jonah can really take the step up, but he's a good tackle, just needs to boost that consistency. The Chiefs then take Mitchell Evans to end off the draft. Of course, Travis Kelce looking to retire, but, Mitchell Evans, he is somebody who I might take above Jared Wiley, even if he's on the roster. Again, this team is pretty much used its tight end very, very efficiently. Having two, not a bad idea. So that's going to be the video. Thank you so much for watching. Love y'all. See you on the far side. Peace.